So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a GIF. Remember, your land layer, for me it's the mountains, needs to have a strong foreground and middle ground, and then your background is what your sky is, what you replaced. This is an interesting foreground because I have people walking to give scale. So this is the foreground, and then these mountains are the middle ground. If you go on the internet, you can see, for instance, this is an interesting foreground, middle ground, and then background. An interesting foreground, middle ground, and then you replace the sky. So remember, the foreground is the thing that you can walk into. So these are all great images that we can walk into. If you look at these images, this one's too cropped. There's no foreground in front of it. So think about either adding a foreground if yours is missing, or of course you can just start over with an image that actually will work. Again, this is a good foreground because we can walk in, good foreground because we can walk in. All right, so I have my strong foreground, middle ground, and background, and now I'm going to start to create my GIF. So the way how you do that is you are going to first figure out which sky layers you want to show. And if you want to show lots of different sky layers, you can. This one got moved. Hold on. If you want to show a lot of different sky layers, you can, or if you just want it to be one sky layer, that's fine as well. The other thing is, I showed you guys that you can create a new sky by blending two together. So remember, I have this sky here, and this is this sky at 100%. And remember, what I ended up doing is I used a soft edge eraser to kind of erase areas to allow two skies, this layer and this layer, become one. And you'll see in the directions here, it says stop. Ask yourself if you're really finished. Go back to see what else you can add to improve on. Zoom out to make sure your artwork looks good from a distance. Does your main idea still stand out? And did you combine two sky images into one, like I demonstrated? And then if you had time, you added interesting details. So again, this is going to give you a higher grade by blending two skies together versus just getting one off of the internet. So think if that's something that you guys can do. All right, so I have, to keep it simple, I'm going to get rid of my bubbles. I don't want it, so I'm just going to delete it. And I'm going to get rid of my eye. I don't want that one. And the white layer that goes with it, and I'm getting rid of the sun. And the one that I'm going to do is this. And I'm going to keep all these layers to show in my GIF. So I'm going to go up to Window, Timeline, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers that I want to show. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click this. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I have 5 frames and I have 5 layers. That's what I want. I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to click on to highlight all at once, and I'm going to change it to 0.5 seconds. You might even want it to be a second. This is forever, which is good, and I'm going to go to the first frame and only show my original image. My second frame is turning off my original and only showing my mountains. Then my third frame is going to show this sky with these mountains. And then my fourth frame is going to show this with that. And then the last one is going to be this frame. And then my sky where I started to erase a little. And then my sunset sky. And that's my final image. So maybe I will have all of these be 0.5 seconds and my final image will stay up for 1 minute. If you want to change any of your frames at any point, if you notice whatever I want visible in this frame, I just come over here and turn on and off the eyeball for that. So I think I'm going to like this, so I'm going to press play. And I like that. So because I want to save this, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do File, and I'm going to Export, Save for Web, and I forget what we're supposed to name it. Last name image. Okay. So you'll see for these steps it says you must save your file 3 different times. So I'm first saving it as a JPEG, so it's flattened. I'll show you guys that in a second. And then I'm also saving it as a looping animation, the GIF. And I need this because the JPEG I can print out for an art show, and the GIF I can project in the little theater for an art show. All right, so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to press save because it says it's a GIF. And this is my folder, and I'm naming it my last name, which is Farrell, and then the name of the project is Image. And I'm going to press save. I'm going to minimize. I'm going to go into my folder, and I'm going to find Farrell Image, which is in alphabetical order. So C-I. And if I hover my mouse over this, it's a GIF, and I can double click on it, and I can see my looping animation. Now I'm going to go back, and I want to save the JPEG. And in order to save the JPEG, I want to have all of my layers visible that I want to be shown or printed for my JPEG. And I want it to be this one, where the sky is transparent for the mountains. And then I use the soft edge eraser, and then the sunset. And I'm going to do File, Save As. I'm going to come here and change it from a PSD to a JPEG. And I'm going to name it Farrell Image. And then I'm doing it as a JPEG, and I'm pressing save, making sure that's all the way up to 12, and OK. And then the last time I want to save is I do a File, Save As, and I save it as a PSD to my folder. This is really important because I might tell you guys, oh, could you come back and make the frames a second instead of half a second? And that's really easy for you to do if you save it as a PSD. I'm just trying to think if there's another way that you might want to save your GIF or a setup. So let's say instead of doing this many frames, you just want to, I'm going to delete this one. Yes. And I'm going to delete this one. Yes. So maybe all you want to do is just show the original, no sky, new sky. Or delete. Maybe you want it to just be original and sky. Original and sky. Either one is fine, but I do want, this is the minimum, original, sky. The other option is original, no sky, new sky. And then, like I said, with the other one where it's lots of different layers. So save PSD to your folder, save JPEG to your folder, export the GIF to your folder, and then you're turning in the JPEG and the GIF for a grade, and you're going to do that right here where it says combining 2 images into 1 file. And you're going to create your response. And of course, you should be checking the checklist for a grade as well.